It's 6 a.m. and we have team coverage this morning on Denver7.
Oh my gosh. Yikes.
A fire burning right along I-70 through Glenwood Canyon has the highway shut down.
With this rugged terrain and really extreme fire behavior, it's been challenging.
With more hot weather in the forecast today, firefighters will have their hands full once again.
This fire is going to be with us for a number of days.
And good morning to you. The images from the Grizzly Creek fire burning near Glenwood Springs are really just incredible. All of I-70 covered in thick plumes of smoke. The fire actually butting up right to the road too. This is the latest update as you wake up this morning. That fire is burning 1,300 acres in Glenwood Canyon. I-70 is shut down in both directions from Glenwood Springs to Gypsum. The good news is no structures are being threatened and no evacuation orders are in place right now.
Here's a better idea of where the fire is burning. You can see on the map here along I-70. The fire is about 5 miles east of Glenwood Springs. Our Addie Guajardo has been on the west side of the fire near Glenwood all night. She joins us live now. Addie, how is the activity this morning as the sun comes up?
Well, Nicole, this morning teams are regrouping to try to figure out how to combat this fire, and that's because it's not expected to slow down to the hot and dry conditions. Now, I want you to take a look behind me right now. They're not allowing any vehicles up on I-70 eastbound, and if you go a little bit further left, you see how hazy it is out here right now. There's a tinge of smoke in the air, but it's not too potent. Now, take a look at the billowing smoke as the fire raged earlier yesterday. The fire behavior is described as extreme, and this morning more resources are expected to arrive. A hotshot crew has also been requested. Several agencies are helping battle this fire, including federal.
Most of the effort today has been from the air, and we've had a number of air tankers working the fire, several helicopters. It's just not a safe place to put firefighters on the ground right now, and with this rugged terrain and really extreme fire behavior.
Now, residents are being advised to keep their windows closed and the AC off to really reduce the amount of smoke that they're intaking. Now, right now, it's unclear how long it's going to be before I-70 reopens, so they're asking residents to have a plan B in place over the next few days and be ready to evacuate just in case that order is put in place. Now, the real danger out here, I'm told by firefighters, is those big boulders coming crashing down on the highway now that that vegetation has been burned away. Reporting live in Glenwood Springs, Addie Guajardo, Denver7.
All right, thank you, Addie, for that update. Farther to the west, the Pine Gulch fire has grown to more than 30,000 acres north of Grand Junction. That fire has forced evacuations in Garfield County. It was started by a lightning strike on July 31st. At last check, it's still only 7% contained.
And we are joined now by meteorologist Lisa Hidalgo in her home weather center. We hear from firefighters. We know they're in it for the long haul. They've struggled to stop the spread of these wildfires because of our hot, dry conditions and hardly any help from Mother Nature.
It's got to be brutal for them. I mean, you're talking temperatures in the mid to upper 90s, and it's going to stay that way all week long. When you look at the fire danger there in pink, quite a few counties on the western slope under a fire weather warning today. Relative humidity down below 15%. Wind gusts near 30 miles per hour. That is definitely not going to help. And no storms or rain, at least for the next few days. Unfortunately, we could pick up a few isolated storms and lightning toward the end of the week, which would be a huge problem in some of those really dry areas. Here in town, all the counties, the northern Front Range shaded there in gray under an air quality warning. That's going to be for ground level ozone this afternoon. So try to limit your time outdoors if you do have some lung or respiratory issues, and then try to mow and fill up your car after 5 o'clock in combined trips. That can really help out. It's going to be hot. Yesterday it was a break from the heat. Today we're going to be at 94 in Denver, mid to upper 90s for highs. And here's how we're going to warm up. Jason, 72 by 9, a hazy sunshine, and close to 90 by noon.
And I want to show you a couple areas that remain closed down up in the high country. We just talked briefly about it, and Addie just mentioned it as well. Let me take you up there right now. Let me first take you to the camera on I-70 right there by Dot Cerro, where you can see the closure in place on that westbound side of I-70. This is where traffic is being diverted. You can see that they have the road blocked off. Now let me take you to No Name. This is on I-70 right there near where the fire is actually burning. You see the haze and the smoke in the air. You can see it from that other camera as well. And so that obviously is going to be why I-70 is closed. I'm hoping to get an update here fairly shortly to get an idea of when I-70 could reopen, at least maybe even to one lane of traffic. And going up and down the canyon that way, the detours are going to be substantial. Either to the north, it's going to be about 200 miles, 3.5 hours. That would take you through Craig and Steamboat Springs. To the southern detour would take you through Leadville, Twin Lakes, Aspen, over Independence Pass, which is quite treacherous. Even on good days, that's about 130 miles or about 3 hours of a detour. So there are ways around it. It's probably best just to wait it out and see what happens with I-70 later on this morning.
Thanks, Jason. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock says police will increase efforts to stop rising violence within the city. This comes as we learn 6 children were among the 9 people shot during a gathering at a park on Sunday. Among those shot were a 3-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old, and 3 17-year-olds. Everyone is expected to survive. Police say this happened while a group of people was having a picnic at Byers and Pecos Park in Denver. No arrests have been made yet.
Local pastors are putting the pressure on Aurora City Council and Mayor Mike Kaufman to fire the officers seen in this video. It shows officers detaining a black woman and 4 minors. They say a license plate reader mistook their SUV for a stolen motorcycle from out of state. Denver7's Micah Smith is live for us this morning. And Micah, the Greater Metro Denver Ministerial Alliance had wanted the city of Aurora to act by 5 o'clock tonight.
Brian, they did, but now the Alliance is saying that's no longer a hard deadline. The president of the Greater Metro Denver Ministerial Alliance, Bishop Jerry Demmer, told me they first issued that deadline for firing the officers involved with wrongfully detaining a black family before talking with Aurora Police Chief Vanessa Wilson. Demmer says the Alliance has since talked to Chief Wilson, and they believe that she's being transparent in admitting that Aurora PD has some major issues that need to be fixed. But Demmer says the Alliance still questions how far Wilson is willing to go to fix those issues. For example, the pastors think officers need sensitivity training, but not from other law enforcement officers. They believe an outside entity should do that training. Demmer says the pastors also want to see the department increase diversity in hiring and to give the community a say in who leads the police department.
So now it's time for us to come together. Let's look at what we're going to do in the immediate future, not the far future, but in the immediate future. And then if that's not happening, I think we go to the next step, which of course is the Justice Department.
Now, Demmer says all of this does not need to happen by 5 o'clock today. But again, if immediate changes do not happen within the Aurora Police Department, Demmer says the Alliance is prepared to go to the U.S. Department of Justice and ask that department to step in and take a look at Aurora PD. Demmer says they are also looking into possibly recalling elected officials if systemic changes do not happen. Reporting live, Micah Smith, Denver7.
In addition to Aurora PD's own investigation. Thank you, Micah. Tonight, an RTD committee will discuss a plan to replace armed security guards in favor of social workers. The proposal was brought forward by Director Chantel Lewis. Currently, RTD has a contract with Allied Universal Security. The proposal cites concerns, though, about run-ins with the homeless, people of color, and other disadvantaged groups. Outreach workers, including ones with mental health training, would then replace the security guards. If approved, the full board would discuss the proposal next Tuesday.
Colorado is ramping up free coronavirus testing. Governor Polis says a 4th testing site will open somewhere in the South Metro later this week. Aurora's new testing site opens this morning at 8. It's at the Aurora Sports Park off Colfax. That's going to be open from 8 to 4, 7 days a week. A new testing site at Waterworld in Federal Heights also opened up yesterday for the first time. Its hours are also 8 to 4 through September. These new sites are in addition to the free testing happening at the Pepsi Center. This is our latest look at the number of COVID cases in Colorado. There were another 379 cases added yesterday. New cases dropped for the second straight week, last week in our state. Our hospitals remain in good shape and are not overwhelmed. 319 beds are currently occupied by suspected or confirmed COVID patients.
During a press briefing about the coronavirus pandemic yesterday, President Trump was interrupted and taken away from the podium because of a shooting outside the White House.
Excuse me?
Police in Washington say a 51-year-old man threatened an officer before then charging. That man was shot by police and is in critical condition. He never made it onto the White House grounds. President Trump returned to the podium within 10 minutes. He says the suspect did not mention him during the altercation.